Have you ever used a lot of these online tax services, H&R Block and TaxAct, TaxSlayer? Well, when you send your tax form or send it online up to them, you assume that they have it and they're going through it, checking it for accuracy, and then on to the IRS. If you got a refund is on your way. If you don't, that too is on your way. You have to pay up. But a lot of them have found a way to get it to stop by Meta. Meta then takes all of that data, and now they're finding out how that extraordinarily sensitive data got in Meta's hands in the first place, and just how much data we're talking about. Carl Zabel joins us right now, the NetChoice Vice President, General Counsel, Professor of Internet Law. You have to be very smart to be a professor of Internet Law, but he is. Carl, great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
How did this happen?
Well, it's relatively benign for these websites to put widgets on the back end. Basically, they use it for ad tracking. So most websites out there have these types of what are called pixels on their websites. They're used to promote ads, to develop ads, and to actually place ads. So these tax software providers put these widgets on their sites from Meta and from Google. And really, that's where the question begins. Why are these tax preparation software companies putting content and services on their website if they don't really know what it's going to do? So what we saw was some of the data started to move off of these tax prep sites to Google, to Meta. Meta, once they receive it, they actually go ahead and delete it. They don't want that data. They've got their own data. They don't want sensitive data and the liability that comes with it. So what we need right now is a robust investigation as to what type of data is moving off of these sites. Fortunately, we do have laws on the books to bring actions for any business that promises to keep our data safe and secure and violates those policies. And that can be enforced by every single state attorney general today. So that's really what we need to see going forward, is an investigation of why these software companies, these tax prep companies, had these widgets installed, and what data was transferred, and did they breach their promises to consumers to keep data safe and secure?
Well, I can almost guarantee that few customers thought that data was leaking out. Everyone gets the heebie-jeebies about their own finances anyway, and they hope and pray that it's just the H&R Block or the TaxSlayer, the TaxAct folks who have it, go through it, forward it on to the IRS and do all of that, and it's not going to intermediaries, widgets or otherwise. I'm just wondering how that happens, because it might very well be among the fine print items that come up. But, entrusting this to Meta, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the exact concern. But what this is is part of a broader and bigger campaign by Democrats to push for basically having the IRS do the collection, do the tax preparation itself. And then they'll send you a bill and say you owe X $1,000, and then it's in your hands to decide and prove the government wrong. Well, that's not going to be good for consumers either. The government has a horrible track record of keeping consumer data safe and secure. I mean, we're talking about today how the government Microsoft services were breached by the Chinese. The IRS in 2016 lost 700,000 IRS reports. In 2021, the IRS has weaponized and dropped files of political enemies they don't like Jeff Bezos. So there was no accountability there for the IRS. In fact, they get $80 billion. Nobody got fired. When it comes to these tax prep companies, they will respond because the market will demand it. Consumers will demand it. So the last thing that we want is
real quickly, how much of that information is getting out? Now, some are saying, well, don't worry, your name, Social Security number, that didn't get out there, but it did.
Yeah, and that's what needs to be investigated. Yeah. What type of sensitive information was transmitted? Fortunately, when it was received, it was deleted. But nonetheless, we need to trust these tax prep sites to not lose our data. And that's where the AG investigation under existing law comes into play.
Got it. Carl, great catching up with you on this. This is not so much great news, but I'm glad you expanded on it. Carl Zabel joining all of that. We have Lee Zeldin coming up here on this show. The fascinating thing about Lee is he darn near pulled